Alright, let's continue working on our Pong clone in Greenfoot. So far what we have is we have a ball that moves diagonally, and we have a paddle that can move back and forth. Greenfoot keeps track of its actors by its center point. So like right here is the center point of that paddle, and the ball has a center point right here. Greenfoot actors aren't allowed to leave the world by default. So when they get close to the edge, they can actually go off the edge until their center point is touching the edge of the world here, or down here, or up top. So what we need to do is we actually need to write some code to keep these actors on the screen. So because you can see like the ball goes halfway off the screen, and so does the paddle. So what we're going to do here is we're going to write some code, and I'm going to show you how to do it in the paddles class. You'll have to figure it out for the ball. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll go to the paddles, and we'll say we need to make a method called public void keep me on the screen. And so here's our method that we're going to use to keep things on the screen like this. So the first thing I like to do when I keep things on the screen is I like to create some integers. So I'm going to say int world width. And this is just an integer or a whole number that's going to keep track of how wide the world is. I could just put equals and type in how wide the world is by going to the world and looking up that. Or I could use some methods that are built into Greenfoot so that if I change the width of the world, this will always work. So I'm going to do it that way, and I'm going to say I need to get the world, and I'm going to get the width. So these are some built-in methods that we're using. So these methods here will return a number, or it will tell Greenfoot to remember that the world width is whatever I have it set to right now. You can also do that for world height for later on. The other one I'm going to need for this is I'm going to create an integer called integer sprite width 2. And a sprite in game programming is like a little graphic or a piece of an animation. So when I say like the ball and the paddle, I'm talking about sprites. And so I write sprite width 2 because I'm going to take half of the sprite width. And that's what sprite width 2 means to me. So I'm going to say, again, I could type in these numbers. I could go to Photoshop and look, but I can also use Greenfoot to get them. So I'm going to say, get the image dot get the width. And I'm going to divide that by 2. So that's going to get me half of the image. So then what I can do here is I can use some if statements to keep things on the screen. So I can say if the x coordinate, or get x, is greater than the world width, and then I need to kind of subtract half of the sprite width, so I'm going to say minus sprite width 2. Okay? If the x coordinate is greater than that, that means it's halfway or partly off the screen, so I need to put it back on the screen. Well, I know that the farthest it could go would be the world width minus half of the image. So I'm going to say set location. Oh, and I have this window pop up. Set location. I'm going to say I want to put it at the world width minus the sprite width 2. So Greenfoot will do that math for me. And then I need to give it an x coordinate or y coordinate. So I'm going to say comma get y. If I change the y coordinate, like the actor's going to like transport across the screen when I do that. So now if I press compile, I should have no mistakes. And if I go back to my game and I press run, it's not going to work yet. Because I put the code in the paddles, I need to tell the human paddle that it can do that. So I go to its class, and I'm going to write right here, keep me on the screen. Keep me on the screen. And if I press compile, again I should get no errors. And what will happen now is when I'm playing here, when I press run, and I move that paddle over, it should stop when it hits the edge of the screen, and you can see it stops right there. So now that paddle stays on the screen. I need to program the left side. So you're essentially going to do what you just did in the paddles class, but you're going to have to change the math to figure out where this is. A quick hint for you is that Greenfoot thinks that 0, 0 is up here in this top corner. And that if you go this way, this is x in the positive direction. and that if you go this way, this is y in the positive direction. So again, if this is like a like coordinates in math class, 0, 0 is up here. And then this over here, I think this world is 600 wide, so this is 600, comma 0. And down here would be 800, comma 0, or comma 600. And then this edge over here is 0, comma 600. So you need to write an if statement that figures out if the center point of this thing, of this paddle, is off the edge of the screen over here, put it back on the screen. And that's how you can keep things on the screen in Greenfoot.